Okay,
Okay,
great.
so 7:05 and we're starting and this is the meeting of the Fisher Park Neighborhood Association. And first thing we'll do is welcome everybody who's here. Thanks for this non-traditional way of meeting. And thank you so much to the city of Santa Ana, Scott Kuttner and Alyssa and
Margarita. Thank
Margarita,
you so much.
thank you
And for PD and fire too. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight.
So we really appreciate your participation and your support even before the meeting. Okay, so like I said, welcome. And then we're going to be having speakers before too long here, but we just got a couple things we want to do. We'd like to introduce our members of the board real quick and then talk about a board opening that we have.
Rick,
So
I'm sorry. Hey, Rick, this is Scott. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we just like Alyssa to run through the ground rules just so people know how they can ask questions and things like that during the meeting.
Yeah,
So
that's
Alyssa,
great.
could you just
Thank
cover
you.
that slide real quick? Thank you.
Yeah,
you
go
bet.
ahead.
Oh, we missed it.
Okay. So couple different ways that you can participate in the meeting. You can in the kind of the at the bottom of the screen, there's a chat box. You can type your questions in the chat box. And then there is a raise your hand feature if you would like to be. So when you enter the meeting right now, you're muted just so that we can kind of, keep a lid on the background noise and the dogs barking and the cars going by and that kind of thing. And then we'd like it, if you wouldn't mind, if you use either the raise your hand feature or type a question in the chat box, and then either Scott or Alyssa will say, so-and-so's got a question, and then we can address that.
Okay, and to do the raise your hand feature, you can just tap that raise your hand and or click on it if you're on a computer.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much for covering that.
Okay, next slide.
Go back to the agenda. There we go.
Okay, so general business.
No need to do the board.
Okay, and now we do the board introductions. I'll start. My name is Rick Collins. We live over here on in the Fisher Park part, and we've been here just a couple of years. And my co-president, our co-president is.
I am Nancy Collins, Rick's wife. We live, like I said, we live in Fisher Park, near the corner of Park and Acacia. So we are thrilled to be a part of this neighborhood. We've been here. We're entering our third year pretty soon, so it's pretty fun. Okay, and then
I'll jump in. I do the next report. So this is Les Hall. I'm the treasurer.
Okay, and then any other board members, can you guys unmute and just, introduce yourselves and say what your board position is, please?
Let me unmute.
Okay.
We hear you, Marcel.
Hey, my name is Marcella and I'm the vice president of the board, and I've been here for 9 years.
Okay, thank you. And
Paul.
Paul, are you on?
I am on. I'm Paul Sanford and I live on River Lane, and I've been with the board for about 1.5 years. I live in the neighborhood for about 2 years now, and I'm in charge of city communications for the board on special projects and stuff. Thank you.
Okay. And then Salome, are you on?
Hi, this is Salome. I live on Jonquil, and I've been in the neighborhood for about 25 years, and I'm a member at large.
Okay, and then last is Ryan.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ryan Murphy, over on Memory in the cul-de-sac. Been in the neighborhood for 8 years. Been on and off the board for about half that time. I'm the webmaster. I'm doing the newsletters now. A lot of the communication channels like the emails, the Facebook group, next door lead, all that stuff. So anything about communication has been coming through me for the last year or so, I guess.
Okay.
Cool. All right. I think our next item is the treasurer's report. Les Hall.
Okay. Can you hear me? I think I'm unmuted.
No, you're fine. I
you're
can see you
fine.
and hear you.
Okay, excellent. Okay. So as of now, basically we have $5,120.15 in our checking account. And there's going to be another maybe check or two coming out. So essentially we'll have about $5,000 at the end of 2020. We started the year with 5,536.34. So we haven't done a lot this year. It's been kind of a strange COVID time for everybody. Another issue is most of our income during the year comes from Open Garden Day. Last year we got $1,500. That didn't happen this year. Hopefully it's going to happen next year, but we're not sure. So that's where a lot of money comes from. The rest is from member contributions. And right now we have 5,000 is a lot of money. The 3,000 came from when they closed, was it Music in the Park at Morrison Park? Salome, do you remember? Well, anyway, she's muted.
Yeah, yeah.
So again, a lot of our incomes from Open Garden Day. So we're still going to spend kind of carefully and prudently. We're not sure what's going to happen next year. And that's it. Any questions, anyone?
No, thank you, Les. I appreciate that.
Yep.
Okay, I'm muting and
Okay.
And so once we, one more pitch for the treasurer, and that is, well, the treasurer for the board and for the group. And that is, you know, we encourage everybody who lives in the neighborhood to join us. And it's not really dues, it's a contribution. And I think we're at $25.
Yeah, it's $25 per person, and
Per
it
person.
just helps to fund some of the things that we do, some of our activities and that kind of thing. So we appreciate it if you guys want to contribute. So
Nancy,
not a
can I
member.
jump in? That's per household.
Oh, is it per household?
Oh, that's an even better deal.
Oh,
Okay,
okay,
I'm gonna mute now.
okay.
That's great that it's per household. Shoot, we could hack, everybody ought to do it for that. But I'm just prejudiced about that, okay? So now we do have an open position, and that's our secretary position. And our secretary is off onto some other activities right now, so we need to fill that slot. And Nancy, why don't you go ahead and cover down here, the duties and everything?
Yeah, so the secretary, it's not a huge thing. It's not like we send out a lot of correspondence. It's basically just help us out with the minutes from both the board meetings and the general meetings. You know, should there be any additional stuff? You know, it's a pretty low key position, but right now we don't have anybody that wants to take that on. So if that's something you're interested in, we would love to speak with you, and we'd love to have you on. We're kind of a fun board. We're kind of the party people, so we'd love to have you.
That's why we became part of the
Yeah,
board.
But you know, it's not a huge time commitment, but we sure could use some help if somebody wants to do it. Okay. And I think it's a 2-year commitment. So
Nancy and Rick, should you just clarify sort of like how often we meet as a board, and maybe?
yeah, our board meets, we try to meet once a month if we can, we've been meeting on Zoom, okay? And then our general meetings are quarterly, okay? We do communicate back and forth. We don't just talk once a month. We're all kind of, you know, we do communicate via text and email, you know, if something comes up, or, you know, if we have hey, what do you think about this type thing? So general stuff. But it's, like I said, it's not a huge time commitment. So, but we do meet, the board meets once a month usually. And right now we're meeting on Zoom. You know, if COVID settles down and we can meet in person again, we probably will. But at this point, it's pretty easy. And, you know, we set up the agenda, and, you know, meetings last about an hour. They're not huge. So, okay. Did I get everything, Ryan?
Yeah, I think you did. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, next slide. Okay, some upcoming events that we have coming up. Otherwise, they wouldn't be upcoming events, right? We have a Veterans Tribute, and let's talk about that for a minute. It's on.
Well, Veterans Day is Wednesday, November 11th. It is a national holiday. And as you know, Jack Fisher Park is named after a World War II veteran who had a number of commendations, was injured several times. And so as a board, we thought it would be kind of nice to do a nice little thing. There are so many veterans that live in Jack Fisher Park, West Floral Park, Morrison Park. And so we just wanted to do a nice little thing to honor the veterans for Veterans Day and to kind of honor Jack Fisher. So it's a very easy event. We're going to start right about 5:30 on Veterans Day, and we'd love for you to gather at the park, bring your own chair, wear a mask, please, if you can. And we're going to do some social distancing. There will be some social distancing protocol there, but we've got a local Boy Scout troop that is going to be lowering the flag and doing a flag folding. If you've ever seen a formal flag folding, it's kind of moving. We do have a trumpet player that's going to play taps at the end of the evening when the flag comes down. The Boy Scouts will be reading a brief biography of Jack Fisher and who he did and why he had all the commendations. It's not long, it's just a page or so. And then we want to honor the veterans and thank them with a small gift. So please come. Please invite your your friends and your neighbors, veteran or not. It's just a nice little neighborhood gathering. It's outside, so it's totally safe. There's plenty of room to spread out for social distancing. The city is being very kind in providing us with a sound system so we can all be heard. And the whole thing should probably last no more than an hour, but we would love to see you.
And we got a new flagpole that's lit,
yes.
and it's very nice. And thank you so much to the city for helping us out, Scott. And
The city was
everybody who
very
helped
kind.
out.
We have a brand new flagpole, and it's just going to be a nice little evening just to honor the veterans in our neighborhood and anybody else that wants to come. Okay, so if there's any questions, please visit the website. Signs will be going up probably next week to advertise it. We've got some signs printed, but please let everybody know that we would just love to honor the veterans on Veterans Day.
That's for sure. Next one
And
is
Nancy and Rick, this is Scott, and we just wanted to let you know that our office was contacted by the city manager's office asking whether we were aware of Veterans Day and since this year, and so let them and we're appreciative of taking the lead on this. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Well, you know what? We're happy to do it, and anything that we can do to honor those who have served or are serving, that's a very small thing that we can do to show our gratitude. So thank you. So
we already talked to somebody we were out walking the dog the other day, and we talked to somebody who is well, you don't say former Marine because that's not true. Every Marine is still a Marine, and he'll definitely be attending along with his family. So there's at least 2 veterans in our street that I know of.
And I know there's several in Floral Park, and I know there's several in Morrison Park as well. So it's just a nice little thing to celebrate them. And we talked about it as a board, and it's like, we have this wonderful, cute little park named after a veteran, and we need to, kind of let everybody know why we have a park named after a veteran.
Yeah, when you hear that story,
it's pretty amazing.
He was really something.
It's pretty amazing. So,
all right, next thing, holiday party. So as you know, we have a holiday party every year, and this will be the first year that we're not quite sure how we're going to do the holiday party. But we're going to work on that. You want to talk about that?
Well, in the past, we've done a little thing where we've, strung some lights up around the cabin at the park, and then we do a little countdown thing and we light the lights. One year we had a little fake Christmas tree out there. In the past, we've been able to meet in the cabin, and we had, cookie decorating for the kids, and we did a little potluck, and Santa came one year and we did pictures and that kind of thing. We're probably not going to be able to do that this year because of COVID, but we are definitely going to do something. If the weather holds, we'll probably maybe hold it outside. We haven't gotten that far yet, but it's always the first Friday in December. And it's usually right around dinner time. And we would just love to have anybody and, watch the website and all of our social media for more information, but we will definitely do something. We just have to see kind of what happens.
So it's most likely might be a cabin lighting or something like that. So what we'd ask you to do is hold the date for that first
please
Friday.
Hold the first Friday of December. Just hold the date open, and if the weather holds, we'll definitely, there's lights at the park. We'll definitely have games for the kids and that kind of thing. But we just haven't really gotten that far, and we don't know what the city is comfortable with us doing either. So but there will be information forthcoming.
So more to come on that, but we wanted to make sure you marked your calendar for that don't book your office party for that day because you'll miss the party in the park. So you don't
Yeah.
want you don't want that. So
So,
invite all your office people to our party. There we go.
and then for January and beyond, we don't know what 2021 is going to hold for us as a organization. We try, we actually had stuff scheduled pretty much for every month this year of 2020, and of course that kind of didn't happen. So we are definitely interested in just kind of, getting to know all the neighbors, and the more you know, the more you'll know. So we want to kind of keep everybody involved and give you some options to hang out with your neighbors and just have a good time. So please, once again, watch our Facebook page and our website, and more information will be coming based on what we are allowed to do.
Yeah, but we'll make it fun no matter what.
Yep. Okay.
And to add on to that, we'll likely have the winter newsletter going out like around, January 1st, 2nd or so. And information about that next quarter would hopefully be sorted out by then, hopefully most of it.
Right. So, okay, next slide.
Next slide.
All right.
So our guest speaker is Orange County Fire Authority Captain Steve Horner. Okay. And he's going to talk about the Creek Fire for September 21st. And there's a chief on before that.
Right. So, Orange County Fire, thank you very much for joining us, and the floor is yours.
Yes, we have Chief Henry who's going to kick off, I think. Chief.
Okay. Thank you, Chief, very much.
Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing? I hope you guys are doing well and making the best of it. Thank you for this opportunity to sit down on your meeting for a little bit here, even if it's virtual. I guess I just wanted to start with, this is your meeting, and, you're part of the community that we serve. And so I just wanted to know if you had any questions specifically about anything in particular, or if you just wanted us to talk about some of the activity that we've seen recently in Santiago Creek. So I guess I wanted to kick it to your board and see where you wanted to go with this discussion first, sir.
Well, I think it's probably better if you go ahead and talk a little bit, and then if we have any questions, we can ask them after you talk, because maybe our questions are going to be answered.
Scott, are you still there? I have a quick question. This is Les Hall. Is there a way to get the speaker on the screen in place of the? Oh, there we go. Okay, perfect, great.
Yes, and
Thank you so much.
Chief Henry, I think that the neighborhood had sort of expressed an interest and a concern regarding the September 21st fire in the creek, and that's really their primary area of interest at this point. So starting there, I think would be perfect. That would be great, I think.
If I could jump in, we were
so
looking for a recap, like what happened that night with as far as the fire authority response. How many vehicles were on site? How fast did you guys respond? What did you find? Was there any investigation from the cause? I think we're looking for that. I know there's a lot of neighbors along that live along the creek that are concerned about the safety of their homes with the number of fires that have been happening over the last couple of years. So I think we're just going to kind of soothe some worries about some of those neighbors.
Okay, so I will tell you, that it was dusk. It was getting dark when the incident occurred initially, and initially it came in as a tree fire. That's how it was reported first to us, and then it got augmented to a structure response. And so when we send a structure response, we typically will send 4 engine companies. Those are the pumper trucks, and then 2 ladder companies. Those are the hook and ladder truck, and then 2 battalion chiefs. As the fire progressed, we were receiving multiple 911 calls, everything from the fire being in the creek to houses being on fire on Park Lane, houses being on fire on River Lane, the outbuildings at Jack Fisher Park. And then also we had reports that the fire could have been a vehicle fire on the 5 freeway. And so At one point, we had about 7 different units with an additional 3 units responding because, with 911, people call, but they don't always know exactly where they are. So
Right.
we had units responding to the freeway, we had units responding to Santiago Creek, and then we had units responding to River as well as Park, to try to cover our bases and make sure that we get the resources. Because when somebody calls and says, my house is on fire, we send resources there. If somebody calls and says, there's a fire on the freeway, we send resources there, and you get the idea. And so we were on scene. The first unit was on scene in about 3.5 minutes. And then, started providing updates to give a size up, say, this is what we got, those kind of things. And then we started accessing, getting eyes on the back of the homes and get an idea of where the fire was. And then we started directing resources and making access and putting out the fire. And so subsequently, investigators were called. And from what I understand with the investigators, there was no natural, ignition sources that were found. And so what that tells us is it wasn't caused by sunlight, lightning, anything like that. It was caused by humans. And they did note that there was homeless encampment activities out there, and they believe that the fire was related to people unauthorized in the area there. Whether it was a homeless a cooking fire or it was intentional, that's hard to determine because there was no witnesses and things like that we were able to determine. So I think that kind of summarizes the response piece. If that helps, I'll take questions and then, go from there.
Yeah, this is Rick Collins. What were the issues regarding getting access through people's backyards? I know in our neighborhood, you had to go through somebody's, fenced area. I don't know if there was a gate there or not. And similarly, over on Riverside, you probably would have had to do the same thing to get hoses in there to fight the fire. Is there a problem with that? And is there something we can do as a neighborhood to facilitate that process?
Well, we created a fire plan. If you remember Captain Octavio Medina, we created a fire plan for our response and stuff. We always, no matter what, even when we have a fire plan for the area, we always send resources to where people say, hey, my house is on fire, or somebody's reporting, hey, a neighbor's house is on fire. So we sent resources there. The creek is always going to be, challenging, right? Because you've got properties that back right up to the back of the creek. So obviously the most straight direct route is to pull up to where we see the flames and then, hop the fence or open the gate if it's, a gate that's open, and make direct access there. As you guys know, on Riverside, there's a retaining wall, so it makes a little more access, a little bit more difficult. Park Lane is the preferred way of getting back there. And we kind of double teamed that action. We had resources pulling hose lines to protect the homes that were being threatened off of Riverside, and then we had crews making access off of Park, to actually make the access to the creek itself and begin the extinguishment and all of that. So that's always going to be challenging. Like anywhere else, when we are dealing with a wildland interface kind of scenario, it's always going to be a challenge to get back there as quick as possible. But sending resources to both sides of the creek, one is to protect the exposures from the radiant heat, any embers that may, be cast towards the structures of the fence. And then also simultaneously bringing resources in off of park to make access into the creek easier is beneficial as well. If the fire had been a little closer up, off of Fisher Park, then we can try to make access there as well. But there's challenges, to no matter how we do it. And then if it's further down towards the 5 freeway, then we've got access issues there as well. But there's always going to be those challenges, sir.
Chief, this is Scott Kuttner with the City of Santa Ana. I just want to let you know that we've received Les Hall has raised his hand and would like to ask a question.
Hi, actually,
Absolutely.
it's Randy Muster that has a question. Has the fence is relatively new in around the creek. Has the fence that now closes off the creek area impeded your access efforts?
No, I don't think it's impeded. I mean, it's just another challenge. The benefit of the fence being there, outweighs the minimal impact there is to us. There's nothing that's going to keep us from being able to make access. And believe me, we've had to make access into buildings, that are on fire that, are secured buildings. So we have all the resources we have. So the benefit of the fence, I think, is worthy of the inconvenience, because I think the fence is providing another degree of, access for individuals that, want to use the creek for what it's not intended for, which is, living in and stuff. But obviously, with that being said, there's still access, from, Hart Park and the Discovery Science Center and all of that. But I don't think the fence itself has been an overbearing issue for us. No. Did that
Okay.
answer your question, sir?
Great, thank you very much for the answer. Appreciate it.
I have a
Okay.
question quick too, Chief. So does the fire authority have, and I don't know if this is even possible, but do you guys have a list of like which homes of the ones that back up to the creek bed, which homes have a little bit easier access through their property than others? I know that there's some that maybe, do you guys have a list of, okay, this house has, only a 4-foot fence in the backyard, this house has a 8-foot fence. Do you have a list of those kind of things at all, or is that you just wing it?
Well, we do, obviously, those change. On our fire plan, we have homes that have been identified that have access gates.
Okay.
Now, we can access any fence, right? If we have to, we can throw a ladder over it and climb over it and do all of those things. But the latest map that I have, and I don't know if these are, it's only as accurate as what it was for us, but I show homes off of Park Lane, 614, 610, 606, 602, 510, 506, 514, 410, and 406 all have gates that we have verified that lead directly to the park, or not the park, the creek. And then I have properties as well on Riverside that are identified the same way. The only struggle we have is the retaining wall, of course.
Yeah,
Thank you,
I was
Chief.
just curious because that way you're not running around trying to figure out the quickest way to get down there,
Thank you, Chief.
Right.
And, we did have a question from Paul Sanford.
Yes.
Yeah, so I just, I live at 936 River Lane, where there was a fairly serious fire about 2 years ago, with a number of the houses, with quite a bit of property damage from a homeless encampment. I think that led to a lot of the fencing that went up. But I know that we're in the county portion, I think, of the river, but the area where this fire was the city portion. What's being done to patrol? Some of us have taken a vigilante act, which isn't good, to patrol the river because we don't see enough action from the county and the city. And, we have families, and when catching on fire and your houses are about to catch on fire, it's a very nervous situation. And it's not new, and certainly I know you guys don't want to deal with the fires in there. We have some city on what is being done, because this is a known problem. It's health and safety. So what is being done to pull the homeless out so they're not comfortable in the encampments where these fires come on?
I don't think that's a fire
Might
question.
be a fire question.
I think that's a
Please,
PD
yeah,
question.
I know, but fire would be somewhat aware of it. And I thought we had somebody on from the city.
Paul, this is Scott, and we actually have Sergeant Juan Montiel, who's unmuted right now from the police department, who's very knowledgeable. And Sergeant Montiel, perhaps you can jump in at this point, or?
Yeah, I can. So just kind of a little background with me. I supervise our quality of life team, which is our homeless outreach and enforcement
Great.
team. And we do a lot of work in the creek. We were actually out there all this week, getting contractors out there to cut back the brush and everything, but specifically to your area, which is basically between Flower and Broadway. The city, from what I'm being told right now, is working with the property owners and mostly on the Riverside side to
Good.
get that entire creek to bare bones dirt, because the majority of that creek property is actually private property owned by the residents on Riverside. So the city's working with them to do a mutual cleaning of that area of the creek with the property owners and the city at the same days. So we can haul it and clean it out so there's nowhere for them to hide and to set those fires anymore in the future.
That's
Great.
very helpful. And our side is the county. I wish we were private ownership, because we're not getting, I go out about once a month and try to clear the brush and on behind our home. Does anyone know who our contact from the county is? We had significant damage. Our neighbors nearly lost their whole house.
Yeah, your neighbor Pete Schutt.
Yeah.
He's I've known him for years. We've been camping together with our kids.
Yeah, great family. Wonderful.
Yeah,
family.
the nice and a beautiful backyard. Holy smokes. I'll give Scott a number to the sergeant that runs the homeless team for the county. And then he could probably get you in contact with whoever does the maintenance back there in the county side. It's crazy because, you know, over by Broadway we got jurisdiction of the state, so the highway patrol goes out there, but right now Gavin Newsom has a freeze on Caltrans clearing any encampments. So under Broadway and Main Street we have that problem, and then between Flower and Broadway there's little pockets that are city area, but the majority of that place is private property. They actually have the city go out and put no trespassing signs labeling where everybody's property lines start and end. So now we're holding those property owners accountable to go out, hire private contractors to cut down their brush, just like you would on a hillside for a fire or something like that. So from what I was told, there's some work going on upstairs in the city manager's office to do a mutual cleanup the same day, where the city can actually haul out that cut brush for the property owners instead of everybody stepping on each other as they're trying to do this cleanup. So hopefully it's done in the near future.
I've been very impressed with what the city has done. I'm amazed what the city manager, Christine Ridge, has done in a small amount. I know that there was a lawsuit filed against Terry Tognazzini, who's owned questionable hotels for 50 years in Orange County, that you know, and what's being done on Red Roof and such. So I'm extremely pleased with what I'm seeing, with the amazing work with the city of Santa Ana. I attended a police update with South Coast Metro Alliance, and everybody's talking about the increased or the shortage of time, the reduced time to get complaints in. But if you can get me going with the county, because we really do, if you know Pete and what went on over there, we have to get ahead of that problem. And hearing this.
Paul, my colleague Margarita Macedonio is on the call as well, and she's been the point person in bringing residents together and working through our city manager's office. Margarita, do you have any comments you want to share? Or?
Yes, I just wanted to share that this is a high priority concern for the city manager's office. The assistant city manager pulled together a meeting with departments and a small number of private property owners regarding the fire, regarding the communication, making sure that the fire authority and the police department are aware of those access points that have been raised at this earlier call. And I think most importantly, what can be done that the city used to do that perhaps has not been done in several years to clear the brush, to remove homeless persons that are causing high risk, for homeowners on private property and also on the segments that are considered public property, whether it's the city or whether it's the county. And so it is complicated, like Sergeant Montiel is mentioning. And so right now we are tasked with working with Public Works on one of the options with property owners along the creek, their backyards facing the creek. And that is, instead of each property owner contracting their own person to clear it, why don't we look at the option of using West Coast Arborists, which is the city's contractor, and just getting a quote to see what the cost would entail and how that cost could be shared, both on the private property side and on the city side. So we're working on that. We are making progress. And again, this is a high priority. So we are pulling together and we are making sure that, our law enforcement agencies, our fire agencies, just there's some more like re-education at the local station office so that people know about these access points, because there's that perception that maybe they're not responding. It's affecting the response time, which is not, as we've heard it. But I think the more clarity that is shared across the groups, the more level of comfort that you as neighbors are going to feel when you're calling in terms of the expectation on a response. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Wow, that was great.
That was great.
I wanted to, this is Scott again, and we have a couple people who had notes or comments they made in the chat. Charles Walter, for instance, was saying that the residents on West Park Lane should be asked to clean up behind their homes as well, that he had actually cleaned up the creek behind his fence, and it helped a lot that there have been no encampments since he did that, actually. I also see that Les Hall has his hand raised.
Yeah, two questions. Maybe, I don't know if we finished with the fire department, but I had one question. We're talking about access from Park Lane. There is an access gate on Flower. Do you have keys to that, I'm assuming? It's right by the bridge.
It was in the back of the park?
Oh, no, it's in the front by the park. I don't know.
No, across west of Flower, not by the park.
Right, on the other side.
And that's a question for the Orange County Fire Authority. Correct?
That's correct. Do you have access to that gate?
Yeah. So Captain Horner, is it Captain Horner?
Yes, any of those gates that are placed, we do have access. We do have keys to get down into the creek. If there's been any changes recently, then we would have to check to make sure that our locks are on there or we have access. So if there hasn't been any changes, then at one point we required to have keys to gain access down there. You're talking about the gate that is not the park, it's the other gate, correct?
That's correct. And the reason I was mentioning that is someone brought up a property where the fire was being between Broadway and Flower, but that's not correct. It was between Flower and Bristol. So that's just I'm not sure if that.
Oh, our fire was between Flower and Broadway. Maybe the one last year you had, but our fire was at the end of West Park.
No, Pete's was between Flower and Bristol.
Oh, Pete's.
Yeah, thank you.
But the one on September.
We're talking about two separate fires here.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, there was one a couple years ago between Flower and Bristol. And then there was another one about a month ago between Flower and Broadway.
Okay. Okay.
Right. Thank you very much. Captain Horner, do you have anything else to add?
No, I would just like to, if you could, feel free to, Scott, give him my email and add me to the list, the neighborhood meetings, and things like that. So we'd be happy to attend if any of these types of questions come up. We'd be happy from the Orange County Fire Authority to be part of it, so we can keep the residents informed on what's going on there at Santiago Creek. We're available pretty much around the clock for you. Just let us know what you need.
Okay, do you need anything special from us as residents, obviously, to be alert and that kind of thing, but is there anything specific that you would ask of us?
No, if you could just add us into the group, we would greatly appreciate it.
Okay, great. All right, next slide. Are we ready?
This is
Thanks
Scott,
again.
and so I just wanted to let everybody know that we're providing Captain Horner from the OCFA's email address in the chat feature.
Great, thank you.
And for those of you who haven't checked the chat feature, there was a question that was asked regarding private property, and Sergeant Juan Montiel had responded regarding property owners, signing a private person's arrest form, essentially, that gives the police department the ability to enforce those things. It could be that we can talk about that further when we introduce Sergeant Juan Montiel for kind of his part of it. But I just want to remind people that there is a chat feature and people are sending messages out to everybody with information, and please just check that out. At a minimum, we have Captain Horner's email address in there so that you'll be able to email him directly yourself. Our office will add him to your contact list for future meetings. And
Thank you
with
very
that, I'll
much.
pass it over to Rick and Nancy again.
Okay, Ryan, can we get the next slide, please? Okay, here we go. Sergeant Juan Montiel, we would like, thank you for the information about the homeless response. Do you have anything else to add? I wanted to give a shout out to the Quality of Life team for activity that I saw yesterday online. And we want to thank you for what you're doing. And is there anything else that you would like to bring us up to speed on?
No, so I hope you guys are all familiar with the My Santa Ana app, where you can report homeless encampments or any other items of graffiti or illegal dumping. I supervise a team of 10 officers, and all we do is from 6 a.m. to about 11 o'clock at night is respond citywide to issues related to homelessness. And
Okay.
our first response is usually coming from the apps, which are sent in by the residents of Santa Ana. So if you come across a homeless issue and homeless encampment that doesn't need an immediate police response, and it could wait a few hours or so, app it. It'll allow you to put a picture. It'll allow you to geocode it so we know exactly where the location is, and you'll get the right resources there, because my team responds with Parks and Recs and Public Works staff, as well as outreach workers, because by law, most of these individuals we have to offer services to before we can do any type of enforcement. And we've been really successful at getting this year so far hundreds of people off the streets, and that's pretty impressive considering, with COVID, almost every single shelter in the county and jail have pretty much closed their doors and emptied out their populations, and we've been a big recipient of that dumping in this city. So the app thing is huge, to get some response that maybe if you can wait for a couple hours for us to get there, but we try to get through all the apps by the end of the day, so they will get cleared, and you will get a response back with a follow-up picture if it was an encampment or something showing that it was gone. But our goal, I've had city crews and contract crews out in the creek the last couple of days. If you get time, go look between Main Street and Broadway, and we've pretty much cut it down to bare bones to take away all the hiding spots and the possibility of fires over there by Red Roof and Discovery. And if I get my way, you guys are pretty much going to have the same view behind your houses there between Flower and Broadway, because we really, the goal was to, when we finally do Flower and Broadway, there's nowhere for them to go east or west and hide. So they've got to get up and they've got to split. So if you guys get time to go walk the creek and take a look what we're doing there, we're working with Caltrans, we're working with the Orange Police Department because they have an issue at Hart Park, and we're just trying to make it very, I guess, uncomfortable for them. Our operation yesterday, we ended up arresting 16 individuals within the 2 hours for you name it out on the creek. And so we're there, we're aware of it. If there's any issues that you see that we haven't handled yet, just app it, and my guys will get to it as soon as they can.
Sergeant Montiel, this is Scott, and there have been some questions that have come in on the chat.
Yep.
Todd was asking, when you make reference to citing someone, whether that means they're arrested and removed from the creek immediately, or what's involved with that?
So specifically between Broadway and Flower, we run into issues because the majority of that is private property. And in order to arrest somebody for trespassing on private property by law, they have to get a verbal warning before we go out there and take them into custody. If we go down there, we warn them and they leave, we're going to escort them off the property and send them away. If they don't leave, or if they come back in a quick amount of time, then we will cite them. The issue right now with the jails is the county jail is not accepting anybody unless you've physically harmed somebody. So at most right now with the trespassers, we'll take them to jail, our jail, but they're going to be issued a citation and walked out in the streets pretty quickly. And then they'll eventually go to warrant. The jail's not taking the warrants either right now. So it's becoming a circle. So our kind of goal right now is to get them what they need to get them off the streets permanently, whether it's shelter, whether it's housing, whether it's rehab or something like that. But they're never left there. They're always escorted off. It's just a matter of, how quickly do they come back, or do they decide to go somewhere else?
Right. Sergeant, Charles has a question, which is, are there plans to expand the quality of life team? And he has a question. There are currently only 3 members on that team, correct? Is what Charles is asking you.
No, that is not correct. So my history with homeless in Santa Ana is I was part of the Civic Center since back in 2016. In the beginning of 2019, my boss thought I deserved a break, which I appreciate. I went back to patrol, but in March of this year, he decided that he's going to expand that quality of life team was basically 1 officer. And then in March, he brought me in, me and 4 officers. And then since March, now it's me and 10 officers. So we actually have 10 officers working 7 days a week throughout the city, responding to nothing but homeless issues. And so like I said, we've gone from 1 to 10 officers since the beginning of this year. So we're a large team. We're probably one of the largest teams in the city in the police department. So we're out and about there, and you'll know when you see us because we have a caravan of public works trucks, parks and recs trucks, contractors. We have members from the Orange County Healthcare Agency, outreach workers. The city contracts with a outreach team called CityNet, and we all go together. And I have 2 teams per city all day long, and we respond to nothing but homelessness. So no, we're a very large team. And whether there's plans to expand it, I don't know. The chief's been very proactive on dealing with issues. Like right now, he took several officers out of patrol, and he's dealing with just directly the homeless issues that are happening off of Dyer Street. And that's in addition to the 10 guys. So I think he staffed another 6 to 8 officers just to handle the Dyer corridor. So the chief and the city manager have been incredibly proactive in expanding the size of these teams.
Thank you, Sergeant. Charles had a question that he texted in, which was about the Red Roof Inn. He wasn't sure whether you had any information regarding the status of efforts to reduce the voucher program at the Red Roof Inn.
We did a motel, the quality of life team and the Santa Ana code enforcement. We did a motel inspection probably about 2 months ago at the Red Roof. And with that motel inspection, we did the code enforcement did a notice to them on, I think it was well over 100 violations that we found that day. And that includes, the people they're renting to, the abandoned cars, the narcotic activity that's going on there, the loitering and stuff like that. So the city, and I almost think they went to litigation with them, but don't quote me on that. But the code,
yes, they
code
did.
enforcement,
There was I believe that there was some sort of a nuisance filing in court.
Yeah, something about a nuisance.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so today I was out there today because that motel is really affecting, and not to be funny, but my cinnamon rolls at Polly's Pies there. So I need that. Polly's Pies is really having a hard time with what's going on at the motel. So I saw today that the motel actually hired a security guard and is now patrolling that parking lot. And hopefully they keep up their proactive work to straighten things out the way it should be in that motel. And they're going to do that. The city's doing that with several motels throughout the city.
Okay, any other, Les had a question about private person's arrest form that we talked about earlier. Does that mean it's a particular person's name, or is it a general form, or how does that work?
It's called what they're talking about is a no trespass form that individual businesses usually sign, but because you guys have property that's kind of like in the creek and not open to the public, but open to the public, a lot of the residents on Park and on Riverside and I think on Park signed what's called a no trespassing form on file. So what that does is, if we go down to the creek and find somebody trespassing on a specific property, we can arrest them for trespassing on the property without having to bother the homeowner, wake them up in the middle of the night and do that. But we're still required by law to provide the warnings before we take them off that property.
Okay. So I have a question really quick, and this is kind of a side question. Frequently when we have seen, you can call them homeless. I think they're homeless. And I know the number one crime issue that we have, of course, with them is the bike theft. You'll see a homeless person riding a bike, towing another bike that's obviously, a nice looking bike. When we call it in, I've had an issue with dispatch actually asking me if I stopped the homeless person and asked him if it was their bike. To which my response was, yeah, I'm not going to do that. What do you guys want us to do about that? Do you want us to call it in? Do you want us to let it go? I mean, I realize that there's not much you can do probably, but tell me what your thoughts are about that.
What we don't want you to do is we don't want you to contact anybody. Like if dispatch is asking you to do that, you should not be contacting any individuals about their bikes. The issues with the bike is years ago, the city stopped requiring registration of the bikes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's virtually impossible for us to prove whose bike is whose once it's been stripped down. The serial numbers have been stripped off and so forth. So that's we're having
riding another bike. It's probably, do you want us to call that in, or do you want us to just let it go?
Oh, absolutely. If you think something's suspicious, call it in. We have a big policy in the Santa Ana Police Department is if you ask for a police officer, we're going to send one. Now, to be honest with you, it's going to be put in order of priority.
Sure.
So if there's something more important going on, we'll do it, but we will eventually show up and try to find that individual, question them, because if we can't prove the bike stolen, there may be something else that we can take him into custody for.
Okay. Well, that was my question. So.
Yep.
All right. Anybody else have any other questions? If not, we will.
Sergeant Montiel, hi, this is Scott again. And Charles is just asking for some clarification. I'm going to read what he wrote in the chat. Do you mind asking again if Sergeant Montiel knows if the voucher program is going to be reduced at the Red Roof Inn? Thank you.
Okay, my question is, what voucher program?
Okay. Charles, can we unmute you so you can participate? And you can follow up with the sergeant. I just unmuted you, Charles.
Yeah, I'm here. Can
Okay.
you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it might be a miscommunication on my end, but my understanding was that there's a program with local jails. When inmates get out, they're given a voucher to go to the Red Roof Inn. Is that true?
Not that I'm aware of. I know when I was a younger cop, it was a big, when you come back from state prison, you're going to go to the Red Roof.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that type of population there, the people that are just out of jail. They're at the thing. It's just, they rent to a certain clientele that they need to stop renting to is what it is.
Got it.
But we're not aware, and I don't think they found any of those voucher programs in place when we went to do the inspection. But don't quote me on it, but I was there during the whole inspection, and I don't remember any of that coming up.
Okay.
With regard to the Red Roof Inn, again, our colleague Margarita Macedonio is on the line, and she's familiar actually with the action that our city attorney's office took regarding a motel on South Bristol Street. And my understanding is we were able to get some very, very good results out of that. Margarita, are you able to comment on that at all?
Just very briefly, I know that it's taken much coordination, not just based on anecdotal information, but yes, to file an action against the California Lodge Suites on South Bristol. That's been notorious for a lot of activity. It started out the way that Sergeant Montiel has clarified about, coordinating with code enforcement and the police department to do, those inspections. But really it's taken a lot of documentation to demonstrate that, the motel is not in compliance. And so, yeah, I think that's all I have, right now, but we can probably follow up just to get a better sense. Maybe it's not from the police department per se, like it's not directly related to our jail, but definitely, when needed, there have been like other agencies that we've had to rely on, whether it's probation or others, to assist, when we're doing those types of inspections.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, back to you, Nancy and Rick. I think that we've kind of wrapped up the Q&A with the police, with Sergeant Montiel. Is that correct, or?
I see a question from Paul Sanford. Paul, do you want to unmute and ask your question?
I just want to close something because I do think it's important that the board members and the residents are involved. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but I have an intimate understanding of the Red Roof Inn and the ownership and the structure. And I think the city's taking bold efforts to try to deal with it. It is a long-term systemic problem. And if anybody is concerned about seeing that improve, that they really get letters off in support of the city about their concerns about that project, because it's a deep systemic problem. The ownership that's been there, I know Christine knows about who it is, Miss Ridge. So please, if you're concerned, let's not bother these city employees. Let's just get our notes into the council and the city manager.
Thank you. Okay, next, Ryan, can we go back to the slides, please?
Alyssa?
I think we have, I know we had one more presentation or one more discussion, and that was from Corporal Danny Carrillo about the street racing.
Hello, how's everyone doing?
Good.
All right, so the street racing, like everybody knows, it is a big issue in our city, especially down off of Bristol and throughout the middle and central part of our city. So we do have enforcement Thursday through Saturday as of right now, and that's that would be 1 sergeant and 6 officers out strictly dealing with street racing enforcement. So it isn't a problem that we're trying to provide heavy enforcement on, so that problem can go away. I know there was a question asking if we are coordinating with different agencies. We are coordinating with several Orange County agencies that are around our city, that they help us, they assist us in the street racing enforcement, and we do have we help them out as well if they have an issue.
Corporal, I have a question. This is Nancy Collins. We've been hearing, because we're pretty close to Flower on our street and our house, and I've been hearing, especially on Saturday nights, we've been hearing more and more, I don't know if it's calling it street racing, but certainly a lot of high speed traffic on Flower between Memory Lane and 17th Street. Usually it's a little later at night, like 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. And I gotta level with you, it scares the heck out of me because there's a median down the middle of Flower and it's not very well lit. And I just am very concerned that somebody's gonna hit something and go airborne and land in somebody's house. So do you, I mean, you know, we can call it in, but do you have any, have you been hearing any issues about that at all? Because we hear it in our house.
No, we haven't had any issues with Flower Street. We have had issues, as you all know, on Bristol that we get calls for service on. And like Sergeant Montiel was saying, if we don't receive calls, we don't know.
Yeah,
about the
I
issue.
think they're ducking down memory to avoid you guys on Bristol. But past couple weekends, it's like, holy moly. And I just, like I said, I'm very concerned that because Flower is so dark, the lighting is very limited. Somebody's going to hit a median and it's going to be not a good thing.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you on that. I've been out the past 3 months for the Friday and Saturday nights, and we haven't received any calls on Flower Street.
Okay.
We've received calls on Bristol Memory, Bristol, and 17th Street, and in the central part of our city. So none focusing on Flower Street.
Okay. Okay. Well, I guess we'll have to call it in if we hear it then, because we've
Absolutely.
definitely been hearing it.
Absolutely. And if you guys call it in and it's on the nights that we're out there and working, we'll definitely go down there and try to conduct heavy enforcement, because that's what we're out there to do, to create the heavy enforcement so that they won't come to our town and they'll leave the area.
Okay. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions for the corporal or any thoughts or any comments for him, please?
Hi, this is Scott. Corporal Carrillo. I'm with the city's neighborhood initiatives program, and one of the things I just wanted to, and I'm sure you're very aware of it, but Commander Chuck Elms, the commander of the traffic unit, he was involved in putting together a really good PowerPoint presentation for the city council around street racing, and I just wanted to check in with you to see if it would be okay if we shared that with the neighborhood. That's still current. We can kind of share that with Nancy and Rick, and they can kind of get it out to their members.
Great.
I would have to talk to the commander about that and see if we can release that information to everybody. I don't know if that's going to be an issue or not. But on my end, I am part of that whole enforcement part. So we do have, like I stated previously, we do have about 5 or 6 agencies helping us out. So it is a problem throughout the whole entire city, and we're coordinating with the different agencies to help us on that issues. And the big parts are the intersection takeovers, where they'll block the entire intersection with pedestrians, vehicles, and they'll do donuts in the middle of the intersection. So we're trying to have heavy enforcement in those areas so that so that they won't come to the area and do their nice things on the public roadway.
Okay. Okay. Well, we appreciate all that you're doing. It's a scary time right now when you have entire groups of people taking over intersections.
Yes, ma'am.
So.
What other questions?
Any other questions for Corporal?
Anything on the chat?
No.
Yes, there is something on the chat. There's a question from Todd regarding if there's been any new activity or updates on the property at the end of West Park Lane, referring to the last couple of weeks. A scissor was left that was rented to, that manipulated phone lines apparently. So I don't have that background, but I don't know if that sounds familiar to others.
I haven't heard anything about that.
Todd, this is Scott. Can we unmute your mic so you can kind of elaborate on that a little bit for us?
Oh, I know which house you're talking about, Todd. It's at the very end.
Hello there.
Yeah.
Hi, Todd.
Hi, Todd.
At the end of in the cul-de-sac or the corner on the end of West Park Lane, it's probably been, I don't know, maybe it's even been a year or two now, where somebody bought that house and it turned into being
family.
a gambling house, among other things that were going on in that property. It's been pretty mellow for quite a while, but somebody noticed, and we have photos of it, somebody renting a scissors lift, I think that's what it's called, and being used to go up to the lines and either manipulate cable or phone or electric or something. I don't know if anybody's seen it or if police are aware of it or if there's been any unusual or new activity that's been reported. Because it has been pretty quiet, but the scissor lift raised a lot of eyebrows. Thank you.
Nancy, this is Scott, and if you can email me the exact address, we can follow
Well,
up with the police
Yeah,
department.
it definitely was used as some kind of gambling or something house for quite a while, for just about, I don't know, 4 or 5 months, because it was like all kinds of interesting people were going in and out of there day and night and parking halfway down the block and then walking in, and it was just very, you know, food being catered in, and it was just very interesting. And then all of a sudden it stopped, and it looks like it's been empty now for over a year. But,
Okay.
you know, we don't know. Yeah, I'll be happy to email you. I'll send you a picture too.
Yeah, our office can just follow up with the police department because it isn't really a police traffic issue, and it's really not a call team issue. We'll take care of following up on that. Very good.
Great.
Are any closing thoughts at all? I think this has been a very productive meeting. We really appreciate being able to assist the Jack Fisher Park and helping you guys have this meeting. But it's all about you guys and, you know, your residents and you guys being very, very well informed. So back to you, Nancy and Rick. Ryan,
right.
any closing comments?
No, Barbara Russell just indicated in the chat that Deputy Chief Gominski is aware of the home as well. So that's good to know. So no, Ryan, do you want to call up the slide and see if there's anything else on the agenda at all? And city staff, thank you so much for doing this. And fire and PD, we cannot thank you enough for being part of this discussion tonight. This was wonderful. I wish more of the neighbors had been able to tune in, but hopefully because it's recorded, maybe they can access it a little bit later. But we cannot thank you enough for helping with this.
It's, you know, it's our pleasure. You guys have a wonderful neighborhood and you guys have a lot of energy and enthusiasm, and we want to support you any way that we can. And I'm so glad to be able to introduce you to a few of my colleagues, Margarita Macedonio, who you'll be seeing more of, and Alyssa Ventura as an example. So we're definitely here for you, and thank you. Thank you so much for all that you guys do.
Thank you.
And shout out to Ryan Murphy for a great slide deck he put together.
Yeah, that's great,
Absolutely.
Ryan. And he redid the logo, and yeah, Ryan, you are a rock star. If there's any, thank you very much, Santa Ana PD as well, and Orange County Fire. Once again, we really appreciate your ducking in and talking to us. And is there any open discussion or any other questions?
It's Ryan. I wanted to just reemphasize what Sergeant Montiel was mentioning earlier about using the My Santa Ana app. I live near the freeway, for those of you guys that don't know me personally, and there's an easement there along the freeway that, you know, belongs to Caltrans because it's state property, and I get encampments there pretty regularly, and so I've noticed whenever I report it to the app, you know, the quality of life team comes out very quickly. So there was one time I reported it, they came out in an hour. I really appreciate it. So for those of you guys that are seeing, you know, the encampments and the creek, use the app, and definitely, you know, they'll come out because I've seen it several times, and it definitely has been helping. And I know, I just want to say I appreciate it a lot.
Right.
I did have a question, since we're sort of wrapping out. Did we sort of went through this open secretary position. Did we want to look for those that were interested now and see if anyone was, or was it sort of just an open thing that they would reach out? I don't know if I don't know if anyone on the.
We'll take volunteers right now.
That's right. And we'll give you popcorn. Okay. I'm not seeing people lining up to help, so we'll have to promote that a little bit heavier, maybe with I don't know, Starbucks and ice cream or something. So anyway,
We'll give you guys free tomatoes. We have a lot of tomatoes.
Yeah, we have a lot of cucumbers.
And cucumbers,
Oh my
by
gosh.
the way.
My garden. Don't be surprised if you wind up with pickles on your desk for a gift from the Collins family, because boy, do we have cucumbers. So
Yes,
Okay,
it's
very
our-
good. Well, thank you very much, everybody. And if there aren't any other questions, Nancy, Rick,
Nope. No
Brian,
other.
I think we'll,
Thank you so much for city staff and all you do. We so appreciate you. And Scott, thank you so much for putting this together. And Alyssa, thank you so much. Margarita, Maria, and everybody, thank you very, very much. We really appreciate this.
Yeah, sure ran
This was a
smoothly.
great meeting,
Sure.
and we certainly appreciate you guys helping us out with this quarterly meeting. It'd been a while since we had one, so this was kind of important stuff to talk about. So thank you very much.
you're welcome. You've got some really serious issues to contend with, and we want to make sure that we're able to bring about an improvement of the condition. So we're here for you. Margarita is really the point person from our office working on issues related to the creek. So you'll be seeing more of her, and she's very, very well informed about those types of things. So
Great.
with that, we'll call it a wrap, and we'll end this
Great.
meeting for tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you, guys.
Everybody.
Bye-bye now.
Press leave.